Hello everyone, in today's video I'm going to be reviewing Westside Story from 1961. Here's my Blu-ray copy of Westside Story. Westside Story is a musical drama romance made by MGM. It was released on December 13, 1961, grossed $44.1 million at the box office. It was a big hit with critics, audience, and fans at the time of its release, and has been considered one of the best musicals ever made. The film was directed by Robert Wise, as you all know, directed films like The Day the Earth Stood Still and The Haunting. It was also directed by Jerome Robbins, who did the musical and dance sequences and choreographed scenes. Robert Wise also produced the film. The screenplay was by Ernest Lehman. The music was done by Leonard Bernstein. The film stars Natalie Wood, Richard Beymer, Ross Tamblyn, Rita Moreno, and George Chakiris. I don't know about all of you, but I love musicals. They're fun, they're inspiring, they're uplifting, they're very magical. West Side Story is one of my favorite movies of all time. The songs in this movie are amazing and brilliant, spectacular, and the dance choreographies are very well done. Really feels realistic if you were like watching a real-life Broadway play. The film does a good job showing the downside when you have like two gangs that think they run and own the street, as if they're like gods or politicians, and also like being a gang can be a bad thing. It can lead to chaos and death. It shows the themes of two gangs from two different backgrounds, judging based on race and ethnicity. The film has like some great memorable movie moments that I really love rewatching over and over again. Like, for example, the opening sequence with the Jets and Shark dance sequence is probably one of the best dance sequences I've ever seen in a musical. Especially I remember like Family Guy doing a parody of that scene. Tony Maria's scenes, and also like the dance sequence at the school. It was like a dance competition between the Jets and the Shark, who were the better dancers. The themes of interracial couple putting their differences aside, not basing their judging based on ethnicity and race, despite their two different backgrounds. Also how like it's not easy being an interracial couple because of two different opinions from two different backgrounds. The actors' singing voices are dubbed, and surprisingly, it's not as bad as like most like dubbing I've seen in movies. Being retold as a modern-day Romeo and Juliet story. The one thing I've noticed that fans point out I never really thought about or noticed that I kind of like can see like why to agree and disagree to some degree about Tony Marie's relationship being like weak and not the best. But honestly, I thought the relationship was actually pretty good and decent. But still, I can point out like and agree with fans about how is that in the classic Romeo and Juliet story that it's overrated that two people meet in just one day and fall in love is overrated. The thing I noticed I like to point out from both sides of the gang leaders and members, despite that they're like violence and gang members, we look at both sides, you kind of see how like, they're both like misunderstood. Like for example, the Jets and the gang, they come from like dysfunctional families, and the Sharks come from poor parts of the country in Puerto Rico, and they came to America for a better life for their families and for themselves. The characters in this movie are just amazing, brilliant, spectacular, and just unbelievable, and so sad and tragic. Before I dive into the main characters, I wanted to point out one thing. The character Anybody in the Jet Gang, who was a girl but yet she dresses like a boy, when you think about it, look back at that, that was like probably one of the first early transgender characters in a musical and movies at that time. Character Red, for some reason, I don't know why, he looks like William Shatner to me for some reason. He's the leader of the gang of the Jets, and he has a prejudice toward the Shard because of being Puerto Rican. He dies very tragically by Bernardo when he's killed in a knife fight. Rich friend Tony, who's a former gang member and has a job, he wants no violence and he wants to keep the peace, but unfortunately it's hard away to walk from a gang. He did try his best to stop Riff and Bernardo fighting in the Rumble, but unfortunately nobody listened. And after when Riff is killed by Bernardo, he kills Bernardo. It shows how hard it is to love someone after when they killed someone in your family. Tony's biggest flaw is why did he not go to Lieutenant Shang to tell about the Rumble? This all could have been prevented. But unfortunately, if that happened, it would have taken away the tragedy, and this would not be much of a Romeo and Juliet type of story. Maria, played by Natalie Wood, I have to say, if this movie came out today, she wouldn't play this character because the character Maria is Puerto Rican. Despite that Natalie Wood was not Puerto Rican, I have to say, she really did a good job playing a Puerto Rican. The accent was very convincing. Maria's a good girl who wanted no violence and wanted to keep the peace. The one thing I forgot to mention earlier about the relationship between Tony and Maria is that what makes their relationship so strong and complex is that they don't care about what their race or ethnicity is. They see the inner beauty inside of each other. When she first meets Tony, it's love at first sight that she just cannot explain or describe. It's just something that she knows deep down that she's in love with Tony. Topic right here, but I love Natalie Wood. She's one of my favorite actresses of all time. Very beautiful and very talented, and she does an amazing, fantastic job in this film. The ending after when Tony dies, like when she's like explaining violence and hatred and racism, it's just like so sad how like she lost the love of her life. Her older brother Bernardo, who was the leader of the Sharks gang, like all older brothers, very protective of Maria, and he does not approve of Tony and Maria. He hates the Jets because of their hatred towards Puerto Ricans. Since talking about the racism between the Sharks and the Jets, the biggest race of this film that probably not that many people talk about in this film is the character Lieutenant Shanks. He is a racist jerk. Despite like breaking up the brawls between the Jets and the Sharks and trying to help them make them friendly, but unfortunately has a prejudice against the Sharks, which really does not make him a good cop at all. Some of my favorite songs in Westside Stories are I Feel Pretty, when Maria sings about being head over heels and in love with Tony. Also the Jet song, Once a Jet, Always a Jet. The song translated to Officer Krupke, F you. I remember in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David met an officer named Officer Krupke, and what's funny is the officer had no idea like who Officer Krupke was in West Side Story because he had never seen West Side Story, and he explained to him what the character's name was in West Side Story, and that Officer Krupke meant Officer Krupke F you in translation. I also like the songs when Tony Maria sing, like Together when they imagine getting married. And the one song that comes to mind is Tonight when they're singing about how like tonight is the night when they will fall in love. What's funny is before they sing the song, Maria tells Tony to like shush. And yet when they start singing, it's like, you told him to shush a few minutes ago and yet you're singing a song out loud. And how is it the parents did not hear them sing? Alright everyone, here are the facts about West Side Story. During the making of this movie, the actors played pranks on each other in order to keep the tensions high. The taunting scene where Rita Moreno's character is being taunted by the Jet Gang. She was thinking about bad memories when she was a child being raped, and it made her cry. It was like, don't you touch me, after being attacked by the Jets Gang. She was intimidating her then boyfriend Marlon Brando, who she dated at the time. When they saw this at a premiere, Marlon Brando got it right away. Mentioned earlier, this film was nominated for 11 Academy Awards and it won 10 awards. It won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Cinematography, Best Costume Design, Best Art Direction, Edit, Musical Picture Sound, the Honorary Award. Hollywood kept a list of actors who got on her bad side, and Richard Baymer was one of them, and he was shocked and couldn't understand like why he made her bad side. It wasn't until years later when he made Twin Peaks with Ross Tamlin he found out why she made the list on her bad side. Speaking of, I find it ironic that years later that both Ross Tamlin and Richard Baymer are both going on to be Twin Peaks years later. She was a good singer, but unfortunately her singing voice was not strong enough, so they had to dub her voice with Marnie Dixon. The fourth movie to win an Academy Award in the same category for Best Supporting Actress and Best Supporting Actor. George Chakiris both wore makeup to look Puerto Rican. Chakiris did not have to have his voice dubbed because he had no singing in the movie. Did not think that his dancing skills were not that good, and at the film premiere, Fred Astaire gave him praise and applause saying that his dancing was good. Top grossing films of 1961. Jerome Williams originally wanted to direct the film, but unfortunately, the producers only let him direct the musical and dance sequences because he had no directing experience prior to this movie. But unfortunately, this was the only film he ever directed. Elvis Presley was offered the role of Tony, but his manager rejected it because of rights issues of not owning the songs that he would sing in the movie. He was offered the role of Maria, but she turned it down because she was pregnant. He said he did not get along with Natalie Wood when they made the film. But however, years later, they saw each other at a nightclub, and they had a nice chit-chat. I was originally supposed to play Tony, but ended up playing Riff in the end. Not happy with the performance as Tony because he wanted Tony to be mean and tough. But Robert Wise advised him to portray Tony as a nice guy. He collapsed during the set when they shot the cool scene and was hospitalized with pneumonia. This film ran 249 weeks in Paris and is considered the longest film run in French history. Jet's actors suffered from shin splints during the jumping scenes because they were jumping on concrete on the streets. Betty Wan dubbed Rita Moreno for the song A Boy Like That. That Rita Moreno and George Chakras won in their careers. For fingers, they had to be dubbed. Officer Crumpy was banned by BBC because of drug use and sexual ambiguity. Film Institute ranked this number 41 on greatest films of all time. In 2007, it was dropped at number 51 on greatest film of all time. On the list of Roger Ebert's greatest film of all time, including 1001 Films to See Before You Die. The film was going to be made into a Disney animated film with cats and dogs. Originally screen tested for the role of Maria. The play was going to be about a Jewish boy and Irish Catholic girl, but unfortunately they ended up changing because they found it too similar to Albie Irish Rose. Called Josh. Jimmy Bryan dubbed Richard Baymer's voice for singing. The original title of this film was going to be called Gangway. Originally because she was intimidated by the other actors and actresses' singing and dancing performances. Warren Beatty after Splendor in the Grass. Story, hope you liked it. Please like the video, subscribe, hit that notification button to get my latest updates on my YouTube channel. Thank you. See you next time.